Hello everybody, for tonight's video on bedtime comics with a redneck, we will be going over the first 4 issues of the Savage She-Hulk from the omnibus. It's probably easier if I do these videos where I break them down as I'm reading through story arcs. There's just so much here that I get bored and I switch over to other omnis, and then when I come back, I forget half of the story before. So this may be the way I move for a little bit unless things change or whatever. If y'all like it better, let me know and I'll start doing the single issue reviews again of each one. But just we'll go from here. We'll just try a few things and see what works. Uh, As I mentioned in one of my videos before, I picked this up at Ollie's for like $34.99. It's a $100 book, so $35 was not bad. $35 is usually my sweet spot for omnis. That's kind of what I like to spend for them. But this is the original She-Hulk stories. So this is her first appearance and moving on. I will not do a review of the book as a whole until I have finished it. So I'm not going to go over paper quality and all that, even though I will say the paper is very thin on it. But anyway, let's get into issue 1. There are a couple of spoilers I have to get into. I will try not to ruin too much, but there are a couple things I got to touch on. It's every origin story has things you can't skip over. They're what makes the character who they are. So we open up with Bruce Banner going to visit his cousin, who he has not seen since they were kids. And he's on the run from the law. She doesn't know he's Hulk. Like, it's not public knowledge at the moment that he is the Incredible Hulk. So he goes to hide out with his cousin, who is a lawyer, and she's in the middle of a case where she's trying to get this ringleader of crime locked up, and as him and Betty, not Betty, Betty's his wife, Jennifer, whatever you want to call her, as they're going back to her house, she gets shot in the back by a couple of guys who work for the guy she's trying to put in jail. And Bruce Banner scares them off, and they end up going. They don't have time to go to the hospital, so he has to do a blood transfusion on her right there. And as we all know, he's the Incredible Hulk, so when he does the blood transfusion, he unknowingly passes this on to her, and she becomes the Hulk because, he takes her to the hospital because he stabilizes her. He takes her to the hospital. Then he has to split because there's cops and everything involved. He ends up having to leave. Well, he doesn't get to run anything of this by her. And she is attacked in the hospital by the guys trying to finish the job. And she becomes the She-Hulk. So She chases the guys down, lottie lottie. She ends up, like your typical origin story. She ends up foiling most of them. And nobody knows she's She-Hulk. Well, then you get into issue 2. The first 4 issues is all one story. She's still dealing with the crooks, and the guy she's trying to throw in jail. He's still after her. I don't want to get into too much, but there is. Well, I have to touch it because it's kind of a major thing. But her friend is attacked by the people because they think it's her because she's in her car, and she ends up being killed. And She-Hulk is partly responsible for it, even though it's not really her fault. Uh, so every origin story has somebody has to die to make this person become who they are. But the world at large is believing that Jennifer's dead. That she's letting the world believe that, there's only a few handful of people that knows she's still alive, and she's using that to strike back against, the guy who's trying to kill her from the dark. Her father, Jennifer's father, is the sheriff of the town, and he believes that she's dead, and he thinks that She-Hulk killed her. So he's on a mission to stop She-Hulk now by any means necessary. So there's a big frame-up job that gets set up against She-Hulk to further enrage her father into taking arms against her, which pays off in issue 4. You get a little battle between her and her father. I'm not going to spoil how that ends. It also kind of wraps up the guy that she was trying to throw in jail. You kind of get a wrap up to his story right there. So that's kind of a quick overview. There was a lot of stuff I wish I didn't have to spoil, like the friend's death. I wish y'all would have got to see that on your own, because it was kind of a big moment, but it was something that needed to be talked about. I mean, it's like Uncle Ben dying for Peter Parker. Like it was just essential to the story, setting up the whole her being wanted and so forth. I am personally not a She-Hulk person, but after reading this, I am I'm interested in reading some more to see where this goes. Uh, don't let it turn you away if you're not the She-Hulk person. Like, if you've never given She-Hulk a chance, like this is where you need to start, because I'm reading bits and pieces of the Jason Aaron Avengers run, and I am not a fan at all of this Jason Aaron Avengers runs. That I'm not a fan. I don't know if he didn't know what to do with them, but when you put him on something like Ninja Turtles, his run on the Ninja Turtles is one of the best runs on Turtles, period. So I think he just didn't know what to do with them. Either Marvel was tying his hands up too tight. But anyway, getting off a track, She-Hulk in there wasn't, in my opinion, as interesting as she is here. Like, this is good. You really need to pick this up if you can find it for a cheap price. Would I pay $100 for it? I doubt it. But if you can find it for $50 and under, it you're not going to be wasting your time because, I've seen where there's issues where Iron Man's involved in them. I mean, she's starting to get herself out in the Marvel Universe. The first four stories, the first four issues that made the first story was really well done. Uh, they've got the drama with the father still there. Uh, you've got her carrying around the guilt of her friend dying. I mean, there's a lot they can play with from here on. But I was a little worried about being outdated. It's not. It's a really good read. So if I had to give the first story arc rated 1 to 10, I would probably give it 7, 8. I mean, it's not the best stuff I ever read, but it kept my interest. Like it kept me wanting to finish it. So if you find it, whether I don't think they got any epics of it, but if they come out with epics, it might be a good cheap way to go. Do yourself a favor and pick it up for a good price.